Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Tom.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. We have an awesome sponsor for this episode in Carbon Culture, which is an exclusive gym and nutrition studio for those who are looking to take their fitness up a level. And they operate their gyms here in Franklin, Murfreesboro, and also moving to Dallas, Texas.
Go Texas.
Go Texas.
So what's really cool, too, is they're more than just a gym. They provide a one-stop shop complete with a range of personalized services to make that every workout count.
And they've just added to add to that Carbon Performance. Carbon Performance is their new fitness program that's being led by Abby McReynolds.
Yeah, and for those folks that don't know Abby McReynolds, make sure you stop by and say hi. She's an absolute rock star with over a decade of experience in this space, and she's the one that helped coordinate putting together Carbon Performance. And one of the things I love is her quote on the website, which is "Count your blessings and eat your protein." I think that's great.
Nice. Yeah, it's great. And this Carbon Performance program provides a little something for everybody. So they've got yoga, they've got bar, they've got strength, they've got HIIT classes.
Yeah, and if you haven't tried HIIT, it's high intensity interval training. It does cardio equipment and dumbbells. It's a butt kicker. And their bar class is awesome. It focuses on isometric movements paired with kind of a mind-body connection to achieve that maximum activation for each muscle. If you haven't tried bar and want to try it, it's a really good one. Their strength class is great. It's primarily on barbell and dumbbell exercises. Really good stuff.
And don't forget they have a signature class, right? It's called C40.
Yeah, and C40 is their signature one. I think that Abby's really spent a lot of time putting together for Carbon Performance, and it's a rotation of mixture of both strength and cardio, so you get the best of both worlds. You get 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, several rounds. Every class at Carbon has a challenge at the end. It's really cool.
So this is perfect. This is perfect for us getting back to training in a group. For those who are not, haven't been training at all, finally getting back and building those relationships is a great atmosphere, a great culture, and we get to hold each other accountable, which is nice.
Yeah, and that's really important. And what's really cool, if you go to their website, they've got over 30 classes a week right now, so there's a class for everybody. You can find them at carbonculture-usa.com. Go check them out.
Awesome. And now let's get to the episode.
Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, From Race to Recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm fantastic today. How are you?
Good. I want to introduce you to Brent Laffey.
Nice to meet you guys. Pleasure.
So Brent is the president of Armada Nutrition, also the founder of Carbon Culture. You've got a place in Franklin, Tennessee, Murfreesboro, and plans for world domination after that, right? Is that kind of how it goes?
In my head, not on paper.
All
Yeah,
good.
right.
Welcome.
Has to start someplace, right?
Yeah, well, welcome.
Thank you
Glad
very
to
much.
have you here. We're really, really excited.
Yeah, this place is great, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So what we wanted to talk about on this podcast today was kind of a little bit about sort of the background, how you started Armada. Want to talk a little bit more about nutrition. We have a lot of our listeners that are endurance athletes, that are power athletes, kind of what's going on in the nutrition space. I have a 20-year-old son that takes more, pre-workout than I think he should. So I'm a little curious on what he's doing there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just talk a little bit about that, and then talk about sort of professionally how you're the president of a pretty large nutrition company. You also own a couple of gyms, and somehow you're, not in bad shape. So how do you maintain that balance? And the last thing we just want to talk about is Carbon's got some group classes and some cool stuff coming up. So with that, how did Armada start? Was it accidental, or was it something that you like, this is what I want to do, or do you just fall into it by selling stuff out of the trunk of a Buick?
Yeah, somewhere kind of in between. It was I was very lucky out of college. Went to school for business. Had a huge passion in nutrition. Family had always been in the food business, so it's kind of in my DNA. Dinner talk was always around food, the food industry. But I started gravitating towards supplementation as I played college football. So ultimately, I knew I wanted to. I love personal training, loved lifting, but I love money. And I knew that there had to be a business side to it.
Yeah.
So I got very lucky through connections and worked for a company called Pernova right out of college, first job. So I've really, in a sense, never had I've had one job since college.
Yeah.
But Pernova is the world's largest distributor of amino acids, vitamins, proteins. And they were big into food, but they weren't big into nutrition. Now, this was 15, 16 years ago. So they actually gave me an opportunity to start the nutrition division.
Nice.
And it kind of started with nothing and ended up running the U.S., moved to Europe for a few years, got them started in Europe. And really what I was doing is we had ingredients, we made flavors, and then we had the ability to make blends. And kind of layman's terms, blends would like be basically a vitamin blend that would go into a orange juice or something that's like a premix.
Yeah.
So we were working with brands. So if you go into a GNC, there's a brand on the shelf. They typically are a sales and marketing company. They don't produce their own products. So we'd go into these brands, help them formulate, run their supply chain, and then work with a manufacturer to actually package it. So after we kept evolving, I'm like, why aren't we actually making the finished good?
Yeah.
We were doing everything but putting it in the bottle.
Making it, yeah.
And the guy who owned Pernova at the time it's privately held, loved the idea, would support me, but we sold a lot of what ended up being our competition when we started Armada. So a lot of these contract manufacturers we sold. So he was kind of on the fence. Do we do it? Do we don't do it? Long story short, I was going to do it. I was pretty headstrong, had a great relationship with him. Didn't want to ruin that, but told him, here's my plan.
Yep.
Do you want in? Do you not want in? And first he was against it. Then the last minute, he's like, with our vertical integration, let's partner. So we started a separate LLC called Armada Nutrition.
Cool.
And took all the vertical integration that we had with Pernova, which is unique in the industry. Most contract manufacturers buy from random people, make their flavors in different places. So we pretty much control everything inside the four walls. And started off very small, outgrew it really fast. And we were in Chicago. And then in 2016, one of our customers at the time was based in Spring Hill, Tennessee, built a state-of-the-art plant. 1 year in, the PE company decided they were over their heads, wanted to sell the assets. We came in here with let's look at it, don't touch, because we were in 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
This is 330,000.
Yeah, that's quite of a leap there.
Yeah. So it was like, hey, let's go learn what they're doing. Let's see. Let's, kind of go into the nice fancy store. Yeah. Look at it, don't touch it. And then one of those things, we got in there and fell in love. And this was April of 16. And by July 1st of 16, we were transitioning and moving our business into Spring Hill, Tennessee.
Wow.
And that's when we kind of went from in the game to we're all in.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, it was kind of do or die. I basically at that point put every dime I had left into it and was completely betting on myself. And there were some days I'm not sure I made the right bet.
Well, I think any entrepreneur is going to have that. You have to have that, like, jump first, hope there's a landing at some point in time, right? So what was the thing that made it take off? Was it a particular, is it because of the vertical integration, or what made it go from 5,000 to 300,000 other than a big freaking factory and I can't just drive a golf cart through here the whole time?
Yeah. I think it's two things, and it's in life. I think everything's around relationships, right? And we had really good relationships with some of the brands that trusted us that if we did this, they knew we were going to be in. So they kind of gave us an inkling that if you build this, we will come. So it was one of those things where we had a good idea, kind of called a guesstimate. We were going to get some business. And then the best thing I had is I had a loyal group of people in Chicago that were on the research and development side that wanted to stay with me and come with me. And in this industry, they say flavor is king, meaning if something tastes good, typically it's going to do well.
Yeah.
So we took on a bunch of actual R&D people who went to school for flavors, which is unique to the industry. They're generally very expensive employees, and they are loyal, moved down here, and
that's awesome.
We just kind of blazed through first couple of years on innovation, and before you know it, we had a good reputation as if you want to make a product that's going to sell. Yeah, these guys are one of the guys you want to go to.
Cool. Couple of questions on that. So, I was joking around because my son is like, heavy into like, I need, I have a pre-workout I want to do, and now he wants to start blending his own. Right? So, because he's that much more smart. And I hate, he's going to kill me. I tell him about this, but I guess my question is on your model today, is it mainly white label? Is it branded? Is it both? If I wanted to come, say, Adam wants to do pre-Adam, right? And he wants to create that. Is there a volume number you have to do? Is it like, that's adorable, but when you got something, how does that process work?
Yeah. And that's, one of the bad things of growing and becoming big is when we first started and we were in 5,000 square feet, I would still want to do kind of a great interview process to understand the business plan of someone, because they're betting on us, we're betting on them, but we could take on smaller minimums, right?
Yeah.
We moved into this factory and the automation's pretty, it's very automated, very big scale. So unfortunately, like, we can't really take on things with small sizes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times this sounds crazy, but we can't take anything on that's smaller than 5,000 units for one flavor.
Yeah.
Now people have multiple flavors. So it's hard for us, but there are co-mans that will do much smaller.
So is it generally your customer somebody that has a name in the industry, or is it like a franchise that wants to start creating? Who's generally knocking on your door?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we've been in a position the last few years as we have 5 or 6 really outstanding brands, and then there's organic growth with them. And instead of changing brands so much, there's a good partnership, and we stayed with them.
Good.
Still taking on some, new things here and there. But typically what it would be is when we first got on the scene in Tennessee, we had a big factory. We were getting a lot of brands that were top selling and wanted to come in and switch their business over.
Got it.
But our best story is a company that we started with in, I think, 15. And they had some veterans that came over to start this company from previous brands. And they pitched us this model that, this is only 6 years ago, but it shows you how fast the industry changes. Their whole model was no bodybuilders, a lifestyle brand, and they wanted fitness YouTube influencers, which now that's how you make a brand.
Yeah.
I literally was like, after they pitched us this, I'm like, I don't get it. Right. And then, over time, their innovation was good, as we kept staying with them.
Yeah.
They launched in July of 2016 as a brand new brand. And today they're one of our biggest brands and one of the biggest brands in the industry. And it's been cool. It's kind of like a brotherhood. Is we've grown together. We've had some issues, but they've grown. We've grown at the same time, and I think very complementary of each other.
That's cool.
And it's been fun because you've been there creating every product, not just, hey, here's the product we've ran for years. Take it. This was a collaboration. So, so long story short, it's a mixture of things, but that's kind of how it starts.
Yeah.
So what are the trends in the supplement industry right now? Is there more protein powders, or is it swing more to what is it that people are requiring now? Asking for?
It's definitely changed, and I think in a good way. Even in the last 10 years, the industry is more open label. And what I mean by that is if you go on the back and you look at the ingredients, they actually disclose the dosages. So that's a trend. It used to be everything was a proprietary blend.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what you're taking in. And a lot of times it was very small amounts, and it was kind of like caffeine, flavor, and fairy dust, right? And now it's like you look at a label, and some of the brands we work for, it's fully dosed off of clinical dosages, off of, studies they've done. That's a great trend. The other thing is it's a little less, the caffeine is still there, but I felt like 5-6 years ago it was getting out of control. It was like the race to kill somebody.
Everything, yeah.
Was that during the Red Bull era, and everybody was just trying to
4 times the amount of caffeine?
Yeah, even Red Bull started it, but then you had brands kind of in the supplement space that were using even ingredients that are banned now. DMA mixed with caffeine at high levels, and you're getting to 400 milligrams of caffeine per scoop.
Wow,
which is insane. And these kids are taking 2 scoops. I say these kids, but it's kind of reversed a little bit now. You still have that, but people are becoming more educated. I think the internet, good, bad, and indifferent, it's educating people that caffeine's not the answer for everything, and they're becoming better dosed products. And then also collagen, vegan proteins have become great. And the reason why I like it so much is that's not a hardcore product. Pre-workouts typically are the kind of that bro going into the gym. And then collagen and proteins, you're getting a wide audience. So like we talk about you guys in racing.
Yeah.
It's a huge demographic, way bigger than bodybuilding. Really don't need 300 milligrams of caffeine, but you need recovery. So these collagen, these proteins, these vegan proteins are bringing in audiences that the supplement space didn't have before.
Yeah.
And companies are interested. So like your Mondelez, your Mars, your Nestle's, they're buying sports nutrition companies now because they're actually more mainstream. So it's making our industry a lot healthier, a lot better, a lot bigger.
Yeah. And I think that's why we started the Recovery Lounge, right? Because we knew that recovery was, 5 years ago, nobody was talking about it because it was just, go faster, go harder, don't, 6 days a week. And if you take a day off, you're kind of like, you're all right.
Yeah.
And some people just wouldn't do it.
Right.
Now we're understanding that you need collagen, you need kind of post workout kind of stuff. So when you split sort of endurance sports with bodybuilding or people that are going, or not bodybuilding, not just bodybuilding, but people are in the gym more, what is the two kind of, what is the thing that they look for? Is it all pre-workout stuff? Is it varied between the two sports? I guess. So if you had to bifurcate sort of endurance versus sort of pure lifting, short burst stuff,
they both should use the same stuff, but it's a mentality, right? I mean, I think in the sense like recovery is the most important, right? Mm-hmm. If you're mentally strong and you go into the gym, you don't really need a pre-workout. Now, pre-workouts that everyone takes, not everyone, but a lot of, let's say some of the guys that come in our gym need to be stimmed up in their mind, right? Uh-huh. A lot of the stuff that's in the pre-workout they don't even know about that's helping them is things that are for blood flow, lactic acid buffers, things like those are great.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of sometimes a cop-out is the need for caffeine. Yeah. So that for the lifting seems to be the number one thing people buy. Yeah. When in reality, I think, recovery products are actually more important. Now you look at racers or endurance, they kind of are more educated on that and I think would spend their money more on something to recover than something to go get stimmed up before a race.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe on a long event, a long race, a marathon or, ultra marathon. Yeah, maybe something in the middle of the race that they need something to get stimmed up a little bit to keep you kind of going. But I think more so getting out the door is not the problem.
Exactly.
It's being able to get out the door repeatedly many times.
Well, it's also 3 hours into something. For me, the biggest problem is around calories and then, sodium replacement and all that sort of stuff. So the breakdown occurs when, my stomach decides it doesn't want to process food anymore, but I still need, 150, 200 calories an hour. Yeah. How do you get that? And majority of the time you get that through liquid, right? You put a, Carbo Pro or something like that in there. So on the ingredients, part of what the internet does is it also kind of slam dunks on some of these ingredients. I think was it the audience that made, or was it the backlash of like, you're not telling me what's in here specifically in the dosages? Was that something the industry needed to react to? And I guess the follow-on question is, what should the, as a person looking at labels, what should they look out for? Mm-hmm. Are there, what fillers or what are those things that, hey, red flag, don't, elk horn, I don't know what they're doing, is that what?
That was one that was out there. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. These are good questions. The first one, the industry did need it. I think the direct-to-consumer model, meaning like more of people buying off of websites, not necessarily Amazon, but I mean more like you can go to your brand now and buy direct, has been a great thing. Why? It increases the margin for the brand. I think brand's intentions 10 years ago wasn't to make bad products. Yeah. They had to find a way to make margin because they were selling a distributor who was selling a retailer. So they generally would hide the formula to not put much in, but make margin, right? So I think that's what happened. But then you had a couple brands that came out and found a way to market differently. And basically one was selling direct. Yep. Or selling, even back in the day, bodybuilding.com created some brands and there was better margin. So they could make better formulas. Yeah. Then their marketing was great. I remember there was a doctor that came out with a brand. And I don't even necessarily think his formula was the greatest formula ever, but what he showed, and I remember it, and it got viral, was he took his scoop. Yeah. He took the scoop of like the top 5 brands, and he took it, and obviously his scoop was much bigger. The other scoop was much smaller. And he goes, here's what's in your pre-workout. And he pours it out, and it's just like a little bit of powder, like very little sprinkles. His is legitimately 25 grams. Yeah. And he's like, do you think this can be as effective as this? Right. it kind of opened up the floodgates of people looking into what am I actually taking?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of gone down a rabbit hole. But honestly, the biggest difference has been the brands have now the ability to make margin off of good formulas, whereas before they didn't because they were selling only through retailers. The retailers want 50%, the distributor wants 50%, the brand gets X. Yeah. So that's helped. And then things on labels. I mean, it really depends on what products, but like let's even look at just proteins. Everyone thinks they know proteins. Mm-hmm. The purest form of a protein and whey protein is an isolate, right? So there's isolate, concentrate. And I mean, concentrate's still good. Isolate's the best, right? So one way of looking is you want an isolate. It has less lactose. It's not going to hurt your stomach. It's a higher yield of protein, right? Well, what the brands typically have done previously is they put a blend in. Yeah. They would say WPC, WPI, or WPI, WPC blend. Maybe they were making it very even, 13 grams of each. Yep. But they were listing isolate first. And it was basically the same, right? Yeah. So what now you see is if you go to a label, I would either buy something that has only an isolate in it. Yep. Or if it does have isolate and has concentrate, they spell out how many grams comes from isolate, how many comes from concentrate. Yep. If they don't tell you that, there's a reason they don't tell you that, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like everyone's generally buying protein that is in this industry. So that's one where you just look at the label, and particularly don't buy blends.
Interesting.
See, that's good to know. I had no idea about that and trying to figure out which protein to get. You're just going with the best tasting one or the one that you can afford. Yeah. There's more to look at that to see what you're getting. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Exactly. And then two is like from a cost standpoint too, everybody plays the serving game size. Mm-hmm. Just look in the package of how much actual protein's in there. So some people have 20 servings with 20 grams delivered of protein. Yeah. Quick math, that's 400 grams of protein. Someone has 30 and 20, it's 600 grams of protein. So like some people always like, what's the best? Just look for how much protein's in it. Yeah. Don't get confused by the servings and delivered. Yeah. So those are little hacks of being able to purchase at a better price point.
And the vegans are coming along pretty nicely, right?
They are. And I've become a bigger fan of them. I generally was pretty hard on them because the amino acid profile is not as good as whey protein. But what I have learned is, as I'm getting older, my stomach is a little different than it was at 21 years old. Totally. I can have a scoop of whey protein now. But I mean, I remember when I was 10, 11 years ago and very busy, I was living on protein and I could take 5, 6. If I do that now, it's not a good thing. But I can not pleasant at all. And what I've learned is because we do so much tasting in Armada is I used to be able to go in tastings with customers and just, if we're having whey all day, I'd be fine. Now it's like, I honestly will spit a lot of it out.
That's fine.
But if we're doing vegan proteins, I can take it. Yeah. So I don't think one's right or one's wrong. It depends on the person. If you can take whey down, it's better. It has more leucine in it, and leucine is the key to recovery. Unfortunately, pea protein, rice protein, they have less leucine. So again, I also tell people who, if you're a very high level performance athlete, you're running triathlons, you're running marathons, and you can't take whey, and you really want the recovery, take a vegan protein, and then buy bulk leucine, which is an amino acid.
Oh, no kidding.
You can put it in, and then it becomes equivalent to what whey is, or somewhat close. And you get the amino acid profile, but it's easy on your stomach.
See, I think that's great because it's not a one thing for everybody, right? Everybody's slightly different. You have to modify based on your age, your gender, everything. It comes into play with where you're at and what your activities are. So
100%. I think anyone like you guys who, really cares about your body is like getting a food allergy test is 100% worth it because I never did it. I just thought I knew it, and I have. And then there was things that I've learned that I'm not necessarily allergic to, but that respond.
More sensitivity to.
Exactly. What create some inflammation.
That's actually
create
really,
the inflammation.
I've never thought about, I mean, that was adorable. I've never really seriously thought about doing that, but that's
it's crazy. Probably a smart idea. As much money as we spend on supplements.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
And there's a lot of them. You can do a really good one online for $100. Yeah. And what I found out was, every year I try to change the protein source that I really concentrate on. For so many years I was doing egg whites. Yeah. And that's not a good thing for me. And I was consuming a lot of egg whites and changed it up in the last year and a half, and digestion is so much better.
So would you consider yourself a protein sommelier now? Is there a certification you can get with that many tastings where you spit, right?
You get the little glass that hangs around the rope around your
neck.
Thing now?
I definitely, I would say I probably have my bro card is what I have, but
I mean, maybe you should start developing a sommelier, for protein. That would be...
It's amazing, though.
If you got a sommelier for water now, I mean, totally. That's ridiculous, right? Do you see that guy? Yeah, he was selling like $400 water, right? And it's like, and he calls himself a sommelier. I'm just saying, you can. There's a president
chance.
Armada, own carbons.
Here's your next business venture: is create a school that
exactly
teaches people.
I mean, you do it for wine.
There you go. You do it for wine. You do it for beer.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's actually, I'll just take 10% off the top of that.
That's actually a great idea.
Just in the standard process and handling. You get the idea.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. So. Now, the funny thing about it, when you walked in, we talked about our first episode. Copernicus here was our first episode. He's, bodybuilder, decided to run a marathon. I understand that you decided to run a marathon before you started really getting into lifting. Tell us about that. That you were starting to tell us, and I said, hold off. I want to see this.
Sounds like a great story.
Yeah. So this was like, I can remember it was 2012, and I was living in London at the time, but I came back to the U.S. for a long travel, and I was traveling with one of our sales reps. We were out in California. I remember like yesterday. And we were traveling from San Francisco to LA, had a lot of time in the car. His girlfriend, now wife at the time, called him and was hysterical. And she was training for the Chicago Marathon. And this was August. The Chicago is usually, I think, in October. And I can't remember what she did, but it was something with her hip.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to be able to train in the marathon. And I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. I've never enjoyed running. And at this point, I kid you not, I have never run a 5K. And I go, I'll take her spot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love challenges, right? And I was just like, I need something. At this point was in a crossroad of fitness, what I was doing. Yeah. But I just like you guys, it's more of having a date and having something is always what I need.
It's that goal.
Yeah, it's that goal. So I said, I'll do it. And he's like, okay. So like literally we didn't even transferred. I just took her name, right? So and then I'm like, oh shit, what did I just do? Like, that night I'm going like, okay, I'm like Googling like how long people train for marathons.
Yeah, they're months. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I got 8 weeks. All right, cool. So I took
8 weeks from basically couch to marathon.
Yeah.
Like you
that's
do.
Good. Yeah.
It was just standard, right? So then I'm like, okay, I look at these like programs and I can't remember, you guys probably know better, but they were like 26-week programs.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we'll go to week 18.
Yeah.
And it's like, go run 13 miles. So I'm like, shit, all right. So
here we go.
I remember my
cut the middle out. You start at the beginning. And
I think it actually, I honestly think it was the perfect recipe. I saved a lot of pain off my legs.
Yeah.
But I was in California and I ran 13 miles that first like Saturday, and I did it. And
by the way, don't try this at home. Anybody listening, don't
have a disclaimer on.
I was
episode.
also 190 pounds, like now I'm 230, so it was a lot different. But did it, and then I flew back to the UK.
Yep.
And actually, between flying back, I broke 2 ribs. Freak accident on a boat in Lake Michigan. Long story. So I get back, and my wife at the fiance at the time, I'm like, hey, I'm going to run a marathon. She's like, you just broke 2 ribs and you've never ran in your life. I got this. And it was honestly one of the best things I ever did. I would actually, I would run in London, and it sounds crazy. I'd wake up early in the morning when there's no traffic.
Yep.
London's horrible for traffic. So it did 2 things for me. I actually got to see parts of London I never saw and did it so early where you could actually do it, and just became addicted to that.
Yep.
And it was like, my morning started off great. I loved it, right? So I got on this program, and then wherever I was traveling a ton at the time in Europe, I would just wake up early and map out whatever city I was in, that distance, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it almost became like therapeutic more than anything else.
Yeah.
And did the Chicago Marathon and fell in love with it. I honestly at that point thought, okay, I'm a marathon runner for life, because you guys know it is the first one you do. It's like that adrenaline you'll never have again. So I quickly signed up for the London Marathon. That was like in the spring of the next year. And in my head at that time, I'm like, runner for life.
Yeah.
So did Chicago, then did London. So, and
How'd you do? Did you hit the proverbial walls? Did you just like?
No, I don't, honestly, I wish I had, if I did it all over again, which I'm going to do, I'm going to hire a coach just because, just insanely stupid the way I ran. But the first one I did, every mistake you could make, didn't even have running shoes. I found that out later. I don't know if you know what like the Nike Frees are.
Yeah.
I ran in those.
Nice.
And
So
I did 331 and my first one. And then
I hate these people.
well, no, this isn't necessarily a good thing. So like, I'm like, okay.
Could you walk the next day?
I went straight to Mexico and drank a lot, actually.
so you were
And
just
so-
typical runner.
yeah, like
That's
felt
a runner.
great.
Yeah.
But I loved it, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, I know I didn't prepare properly for this. Let's do it
Yeah.
right. So first thing I do, I go in and I get actual shoes.
Yep.
I didn't think those were bad, but when that guy he didn't believe me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I ran in these. He's like, well, that's step one. And then 2, I did a full program where
Yeah.
we talked about I incorporated some swimming. I
Yep.
did some HIIT. I did this,
Yeah.
that, the other. And then we did London and I did 309 the
Wow.
next time.
Nice.
And then I was like, okay, sub 3 is the game, right?
Yep.
And then life happened and business took off and I
Yeah.
kind of shifted into bodybuilding without really planning it. It just kind of happened. I started lifting more because I didn't have as much time.
Yep. Fit the schedule
Yeah,
better, right?
yeah,
We
exactly.
talk about that you can do that in 45 minutes, but
Yeah.
you can't marathon train.
Well, it sounds like your body responds. I mean, because you're in great shape. So, I mean, busting almost a sub 3 marathon, it just you seem to. Was that something that you had your whole life, where if you just take something on? Because it seems like bodybuilding is something that you were pretty successful in. You
Yeah.
still are, right? Is that you just find that your body responds really well?
I don't think I wish I would say yes because at times I wish my body responded better.
Uh-huh.
I think my strength and my weakness is my mind. Like I just will do whatever it
You'll just
takes.
power through it.
Yeah, but also we talked. I mean, honestly, I'm learning this as I get older. The name of your company, Recovery.
Yeah.
I just still don't do it. I can
Yeah.
advise.
Yeah.
And I can tell people how to do it, but when it comes to me,
Yeah.
I don't. So I think that like I've had some good results, but I think it's completely just running through a wall versus.
Yeah, I mean-
but I can tell people how to not run through the wall, but I can't do it myself.
So
And-
you've got the mental capacity, you've got the mental
Yeah.
drive and all of that. But what we're hearing from people that we're talking to as they get into these new sports, as they try something that's brand new, not knowing enough about it is a good thing, right?
100%.
Yeah,
being
okay,
naive.
Because you're being naive because you don't know enough to be scared about it.
Yeah.
You're not afraid. You're not.
Yeah.
You don't worry about this. You just go, "Oh, I'm just going to do this." Well,
Yeah.
You're just going to run, right? What do you need? I've got shoes on. Let's just go, right?
Right, 100
and make it happen.
That's a beautiful
and
thing.
I think that helps tremendously.
I agree.
I mean, yes, you could probably damage yourself at some point,
Yeah.
but I think you need to. We all need to look at that when we sign on to our next goal, whatever we're going to
Yeah.
challenge ourselves with. That we actually need to just kind of turn it off and not do as much research on it, not stare at the data as much, and just kind of just go do it. Right?
Instinct, right? You're 100% right. I mean, I look back at, you guys have all probably had this in life, is when we took on Armada and when we bought the Tennessee facility, if you asked me if I would do it all over again, I honestly don't know if I would.
Yeah.
The end result's been great.
Yeah.
And we sold part of the company, this, that, the other, and great. But I was so naive that it's the only thing that got me through 16 and 17.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me what I had to endure, I'd probably be I'm going to have to find
let's
another
find something
route,
easier.
right?
Yeah.
But as I get older, now I kind of wonder, I'm like, man, I'm a little bit jaded.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that in me. So
Yeah.
Well, I think, but just in business as you did with the sport, is you knew what your end goal wanted to be. You may not know how to get to the
there.
end goal, because I mean that's what I did for my first Ironman. I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to sign
Just
up for it
go.
and figure it out later, right?
Yep.
And you kind of need that, right? So I need a goal to scare the shit out of me that gets me up
Yeah.
in the morning. If I don't have that, I mean, I started this company the same way. I've never done retail. I was a corporate guy, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just going to open this up, see what the hell happens. And my wife's like, she's the exact opposite, right? She's like,
Mine's
she's
the
in
same way, yeah.
finance, in insurance, in IT,
Right.
like the least,
Yeah.
risk job. And here I am, like, screw it, I'm just going to figure it out. And
Yeah.
if
We'll
I
make it
don't, I'll
happen.
flame out nicely, and
But at least
it'll be
you-
a fun ride, man.
But one
So,
thing, though, that you probably, I think we all agree to is as long as it's a passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you'll figure it out. It may have some bends and some left turns, but if you choose, which you obviously are passionate about
Yep.
this. And that's kind of what I've always said, even with the gyms, is
Yeah.
if it's a passion project, I'll make it work.
Yeah.
You have to believe in it.
You have to believe in it. But as I get older, though, I'm like, I hope that I keep that kind of, being naive in some ways, because it's actually been a recipe of success. But how do you do it?
You just pick and choose a little more wisely, and you don't go to 60 things. You go to 30.
Well, I think to your point though, the knowledge, you still have that kind of crazy ass goal, but the knowledge on that, getting to that crazy ass goal, you can hopefully avoid a couple of those, rookie mistakes that you made previously. Right? Hey, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully it goes
shoes
a little smoother. Right? Each time.
Yeah, as long as you don't make the same ones over and over.
Yeah, don't make the same mistakes. Right.
As a guy that's running, basically, you started up Carbon Culture. Mm-hmm. Curious about the name. What was the intentionality behind Carbon Culture? How did that name come about?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's when we started playing around with the gym, is I didn't want to do the typical gym name. And honestly, the whole thing of why I wanted to start at a gym was to kind of go in that place where I always use the analogy, which is probably bad, is like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, right? But like a gym culture that way, and not to be that big box where you're just a scan card and just so we wanted to incorporate like a culture, right? So that's that. And obviously CrossFit's been known for that, but like we still liked the culture aspect. And then the piece of Carbon is like the typical gym names are always the same. It's like, you can think of the typical names. And what I wanted is something that had nothing to do with necessarily bodybuilding, but like sculpting your body, right? So we started kind of going with that theme. And then as we started looking at it, is like atoms and like carbon being the most like robust, toughest element, right? That you want to form and become. That was kind of the thought. And then we took that into everything that you can see in the gyms. We use the hexagon a lot. Well, it's based off of obviously how many atoms are in carbon, which is that number. So that's kind of the backstory on it, but to, kind of a geeky science.
Yeah, but it's got a great name, nice alliteration to it, right? It's got so you decided, what the hell, Armada wasn't enough. I thought I'd just open a couple of gyms and do that. Yeah. You're married, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
So, you're in fantastic shape. How? I mean, how is it that you can? Is it the Mark Wahlberg get up at 3:30 in the morning kind of routine, or how do you maintain that kind of consistency to try to keep yourself sane in the middle of sommelier testing?
I like that actually. I'm going I wish I could sit here and say like it's all smooth and it's all roses, right? Yeah. Luckily, I have a very understanding wife who met me in the middle of my career. We met through work. So that's a blessing because she understands who I was, right? Yeah. So I didn't have to sell myself. But at the same time, I think, balance is a hard thing for me. And I'm getting better at it. And it's one of my goals. But I think right now, if I was going to say which way it is, it's kind of that wake up at 3, plan my day to according. And the one thing is like, if I'm busy, really busy, I'm actually a better person because I manage time better. Yeah. So my wife, to some degree, I think, is good with it because I'll plan time for the family, and it can be more, and it needs to be more. Yeah. But like on Sundays, I'm mapping out every hour of my whole week, which includes being home for breakfast. Yeah. Doing bed, and then meetings, cardio, like that. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not saying but that's just, it's kind of making the time. Yeah. So
I've always said that we don't need more time. We need a deadline, right? For projects that come through. So we throw a deadline on it and then we'll get it done. If you give me more time, I will take that time. Yeah. I will take it, all of it.
And that's how exactly I am, is like, I feel like the minute I'm not busy,
as he checks his phone. By the way.
Sorry. I procrastinate and just push things. And college is a great example. Everyone has this, but to some degree is like, I just waited to the last minute and everything. Yeah. And it's not the way to live life. So kind of tried to correct myself from bad habits.
Yeah. So I know when I moved from California to Tennessee, for me, new job, new location, the family's like crazy, they're trying to figure everything out. I had a pretty efficient program. I was pretty light. I was doing, Ironmans. Everything was going great. get here, and all of a sudden it's like lunch meetings, and I had to, butt kiss the boss. So you would, you would go to dinners, you would have customers that you'd have to prioritize.
Right.
And then you turn around with your family and try to make sure that they're okay. And then all of a sudden 15 pounds heavier, and what the hell happened? Have you had an experience with that when you just sort of like things sort of fell off because everything, or you always maintain fitness or wellness as an important part of that?
Yeah. Since we started Armada, I have. I mean, I wish, I purposely gain weight at times, but it's all planned.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not saying I'm in perfect shape, but like, the business I'm in, being in nutrition, it allows you to do certain things that, like people wouldn't understand. So for example, going out to dinner.
Yep.
It's a big thing. We have customers in all the time.
Yep.
They're from the supplement space. So I literally will go in my car, eat my meal, go into dinner and have a side salad.
Oh, that's
and they
funny.
won't make fun of me.
Yeah.
Right. So like, well, maybe they do behind my back.
Yeah,
but they're coming from this space, so they understand. So luckily I'm in an industry where they understand.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it takes this. And then a lot of times, like when they come in, they want to work out. So now like carbon's kind of a beautiful thing in the middle as these supplement brands come in. They like to lift, right?
Yeah.
What do we do for lunch sometimes? Go lift.
Go lift.
Yep.
So it's all like my passion's kind of my work, and my work is my life. So it all kind of just flows together. So it makes it a lot easier. I have friends who are in corporate world of like banking, and it would be hard.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're going to have that. You can't say no to that dinner, steak dinner, and some wine. So I totally get it. I just unfortunately in a spot where I'm not forced.
So when you kind of take a break and you come back, one of the challenges I have is there was a certain distance I was running, there was a certain speed I was running. I can be able to swim, without having to be too much of a problem, and suddenly it becomes a problem. Have you had that kind of challenge of trying to get back? I mean, in my head, I should be I should be lifting more. I should be, wait a minute, this was easy like 3 months ago. What the hell just happened?
Right.
Any advice on sort of, is that patience? Is that?
I do the same thing though, same problems. And I used to lift on my own, and I thought I was always the better way because I like going pretty fast pace. Some people just wouldn't want to work out with me, but you get into routines, right? Yeah. So the last 2 or 3 years, and I've still had some plateaus, but I've incorporated partners. And what I've generally incorporated is either someone who I can learn from that does things differently, or I've had partners who wanted to get into the routine.
Yep.
So I feel the obligation when we're working out. I'm leading, I'm in charge.
Yep.
I can't let them down.
Yeah.
So then it's like, versus like you go in the gym, you had a long day at the office.
Yep.
Oh shit, I just did my 10 sets. I'm good. I'm going home.
Yeah.
That was definitely happening. So I've switched it up, have partners, and they kind of keep me honest.
Yeah.
So that's been very helpful the last few years. And I went from hating having partners to lift with to actually truly enjoying it, and now struggle if I'm on my own.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a social thing as well. Let you unwind.
Yeah, I don't talk much. So that's actually like
okay.
a really good thing is I've found partners who like, you can vibe with, right? I mean,
so you get in that groove.
But it's like, I don't want to like have cooler talk while we're
exactly. Sure. Yeah. You're not just making talk. But you're in your zone and you're in your rhythm and you kind of move. So.
Exactly.
And, just curious question: how big do you have to be before you can wear the wireless Beats big headphones? I mean, is there a size limit that you have to start?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No. Just you can. If I walk in with a pair of wireless Beats, I think I'm going to get laughed out of the place.
I think you'd be all right. You got it. I actually prefer though. I don't do Beats, but I have Bose. I can't. I gotta have the
noise canceling.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Get that out of there.
Yeah, I'd say you're fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'm always curious about that. It's like, is there a biceps chart that I have to go to before I?
But that's like that. You're so right though. I don't even think about that, but like that is the typical bodybuilder where you like don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Like
pro athlete. Kind
jerk face kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have that. Yeah.
So I think you need that once in a while. I think one of the themes you talked about though is like you created a company named Carbon Culture because you knew culture would get people in.
Right.
And to get people in, you tend to want to be there. You tend to do more. I mean, we know that. That's why group rides occur. That's like that socialization is what keeps people.
Right.
There's research after research that shows, you can get a Fitbit. But after a few months, you don't care. If your Fitbit doesn't give a crap if you don't do the miles.
Yeah,
right?
it's not.
Whereas if you, like you said, you're beholden to somebody now. If somebody's waiting for you to get there, that's a much better thing. But every once in a while, you got to put the headphones on and like just
zone in.
Zone in.
Just,
yeah, 100%.
So Carbon Culture, you've got a couple of gyms now. You've got mad plans for later.
Yep.
And then you're starting up some group fitness stuff. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that I'm actually really excited about. You kind of like in business, you pivot, right?
Yep.
And we love the what we started with Carbon, and then we realized in one market, particularly in Franklin, we were missing out on something that's huge, and it's like it's group fitness.
Yep.
And I don't have the desire for it as much as Murfreesboro. Not saying we don't do it.
Yeah.
But so long story short is we started doing some free classes, and we had some good involvement. It was called C40. It was a free HIIT class. Really good participation. Did it inside, outside. So you could see it was there. And then what I've realized in so many things is you need experts, right?
Yep.
Like in Armada, it's been the same thing. In the gym, I'm learning it is like you can't be good at everything.
Yeah.
And we don't know that space. So, but we wanted to be in that space. So what do? You find out who are the good ones, who's doing what do you want, what's right. So we were lucky enough to make contact with Abby McReynolds, and she's was doing a lot of instructing at Lifetime, had her own gym before, and we hit it off, and we basically have decided to take one of our suites. We had 2 suites in Franklin. One was kind of a lifting suite. One was originally just CrossFit, and we're rebranding it, remodeling it, and making it basically it's called Carbon Performance.
Yep.
And it'll be where we are going to host 25 out of the gate, and then getting to 30 classes a week. Wide variety. Abby is the group fitness director. She's got great contacts. She's bringing in a lot of other local instructors.
Sure.
And it's going to be a nice thing. And the one thing I didn't want to do with Carbon, and I'm very glad it's happened, is we started with our first suite, and then we actually ended up buying CrossFit next door. And we kept the wall up. And my whole thing was, I've been into gyms before. Everybody, I want to encompass all kinds of training, but one thing you don't like is when it's a big open gym floor and you're mixing cultures and there's not a real vibe. So that was obviously one of the things that was hesitant of doing other things. But when we got this other suite, it's like, okay, great. We can simply put a door in between, but keep the environment for the lifters, their space, group fitness there. So we're in the middle of, I don't know how many times we've done construction this last year, but we are remodeling the others, and it's really going to be Abby's. She's going to it's kind of a business inside a business. Yep. And we're going to be offering unlimited classes, cool, and then a gym membership on top of it. And I think it'll be very competitive price wise, where you have a 24/7 gym that you can lift in with I think the best equipment in Middle Tennessee for lifting. And then you have a class setting with 4,000 square feet of all kinds of different types of classes, outdoor area as well. And then also we're catering, I think, to what's trending is kind of more boutique, smaller gyms. We have that atmosphere. Yeah. It's individual locker rooms. It's not mass locker rooms. Yep. So there's a lot of cool things that I thought were trends coming, and that's why we did it. COVID has accelerated a lot of those trends.
Yeah.
So big box gyms. I mean, I looked at the latest report. Big box dropped by over 50%. Over 20% of the people have a big box gym, actually have a membership someplace else. And boutique is growing leaps and bounds because of that, because they want kind of a more intimate environment that big box is gonna struggle, right? Because they're trying to be sort of omnipotent to everything, and you can't. And you can be, sort of good at a lot of things or really good at a few things, right?
Yeah, and that's like played to our advantage. And the other thing that this was a passion project. It wasn't I'm going to make X amount of dollars. Yeah, I literally never looked at it that way, because I wanted to build what I wanted. Yeah, I didn't want to lose money, obviously. Yeah, but still, and I think that's helpful, but I think what we're getting at is we're seeing those trends kind of come our way, and playing to that. And I feel like over time is you have to have an identity. Yep. And you're seeing it more in millennials, is not even just in this gym space. It's like how they associate themselves with brands. There's an identity. They're sending a message, right? Yep. And I think as crazy as it sounds, as the gym is the same way. It's an identity, right? So, so I think it's, COVID was rough for businesses. I mean, it wasn't great for us just opening. Yeah. But I think it's accelerated. I mean, we both opened about the same time. Yeah. So.
That was fun.
Start, stop. Yeah. Because you guys opened when?
February, yeah. We got to see the place for 4 weeks before COVID shut us down. So when people ask us about when did you open, I said it's sort of like marrying your ex-wife. Which anniversary date do you pick? Right? Do you pick the first anniversary date or the second one? We sort of opened in May. So,
it's same as us. We opened February 1st.
Yep.
Closed March 20 whatever.
Yeah.
Back open May 1st.
Yeah, it was insane. So we don't recommend that's how you start a business, by the way. It's sort of like running in a pair of
Nike Frees.
Nike Frees, right?
But I think that, I mean, I don't know about you, and I actually can turn around and ask you a question.
Yeah.
It was actually a good thing for us in some ways. I mean, if you look at it, I'd rather have it that way than 9 months in when you have a bunch of momentum. One thing we did is I think we took that time and got a little bit of feedback and could pivot before we reopened.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the same thing or.
I think for us it was how it's who's going to do it, right? I mean, what's interesting about it turned out being a lot of people doing more group fitness classes. Those people that are above the age of 40, those people tend to stick around. So I think we had a lot of people coming in that were like younger and they would just try it out. And recovery is for everybody. We have a lot of high school athletes that come in, but sometimes, you're 21, you're invincible. You don't really need that kind of thing. What we're finding is with less customers, we were able to get more quality customers, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Because they were serious in a year.
They're serious. I mean, you're 40 years old. You know this, Tom, right? You're trying to do 6 days a week on a training program, and it just doesn't. Your body doesn't react like it does when you're 20. Iron sharpens iron, right? So it really makes you focus on what the important thing you're spending the money on, what the important thing you're focusing your time on,
right?
In order to get those folks in there. But absolutely.
It was almost like you could do a soft launch and then see where everything was going to change and how it was going to change. And then you could kind of pivot if you needed to, or build up in certain areas, just kind of roll with it.
Yeah. And what we found actually, to your point, it's we start out with rest day, best days, our big sort of thing, right? It's rest day, it's your best day, which is great. And what we found was it was the community, just like you're doing. We're creating that community between the gym and the home. That's what we're doing. So we're finding it's not just the physical recovery. It's the fact that you can come here, chill out,
hang out,
talk to your friends who you haven't spoken to in a week, be able to get that mental recovery. That to us was, I think, it became more prevalent as we really started. This is a place where people. We built a bar on purpose, right?
Just chill out, hang out, right?
So that's what we found. So if somebody wants to find out about the group classes, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah, our website obviously is revamped. It's on there. You can buy packages on it, which is carboncultureusa.com. And then also,
it's already been a long day.
Yeah. The Instagram is carbon_culture_USA, which is a little complicated, but we're very active on social too.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of videos, you'll see a lot of content. So it's definitely a page to follow. We try to post twice a day and then the story continues. So, it's a great place.
Sure. Anything else we need to know that's coming up?
Actually, let me do a plug. May 8th, in Murfreesboro, we're doing a charity boxing event at our gym, Carbon Culture in Murfreesboro. Cool. It's actually, all profits are going to, St. Jude's.
Nice.
And what it is basically, obviously a charity boxing event. It's sanctioned. We have, I think, 13 amateur fighters, or fights, I should say, 26 fighters.
Yep.
And then we have a couple like fitness influencer YouTubers that are fighting.
Yep.
We have a huge amount of fitness influencers from bodybuilders, coaches, nutritionists that, are pretty well known. They'll be there for meet and greet.
Yep.
And then we're having a powerlifting event there as well.
Wow.
Street food, all the local vendors for, like apparel, supplements, all that. So definitely check it out. It's May 8th. The actual website on that one is rumbleintheborough.com.
Rumbleintheborough.com.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you guys should definitely come.
Proud.
And actually, speaking of that, you guys should, if you want, come as a vendor.
Yeah.
It'd be a good setup. It should have a pretty good crowd. I think we're anticipating over 1,000 people.
Cool. Oh, wow. So, nice.
All right. Well, Brent, we appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
thank you guys
so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Everybody listening, you like it, you like what you hear, please 5 stars, thumbs up. Comments are great. Give us feedback. Yes, good, bad. Constructive criticism is always welcome. Appreciate everybody, and thanks for all your time.
Thanks, guys.